Hi, this is Sandy with Apple Cottage, and in this video we're going to make fruit brandy. And I'm actually going to make fruit brandy with caramel in it. Adding fruit to brandy or any alcohol can be really fun and a different way to use alcohol, especially not only with drinking, but with cooking, baking, making whipped creams, things like that. With vodka, you can add, for example, lemons or blueberries. Tequila, you could add citrus or watermelon. Rum, lime, bananas, coconut, gin, basically any kind of berries, strawberries, blackberries, raspberries, anything like that. And even bourbon, you can add cherries or apples. But today I'm making raspberry brandy with caramel. The higher proof alcohol you use, the faster the essence of the fruit will come out. So a very high percentage of alcohol, say 80 or 90 proof, can come out as fast as 2 to 4 days. Now when I'm making mine, I use Paul Mason brandy. It's made in America. They age it in oak barrels, so it has a real nice smooth taste to it. I like to leave the raspberries completely whole. A lot of times with fruit, apples or pears or bananas, you're going to slice up. But any kind of berry, just leave them as a whole fruit, and they'll break down in the alcohol. With mine, I'm going to leave, actually, I'm going to check it at 2 weeks. But it could stay with the fruit inside the brandy for up to 3 months. I'll keep it down in the pantry. It's very cool. It's dark there. And I will shake it every other day. Now with brandy or any alcohol, besides fruit, you could add herbs or spices, or you could do a combination of fruit and herbs, fruit and spices. I use it for cooking, for baking, but as Paul said to Timothy, drink a little wine for your stomach. A brandy can really help with the upset stomach also. Now, there are very differing ratios to alcohol to the fruit. With the ones I do, I like to do 1 to 1. So I basically want it half fruit and half alcohol. If you were adding herbs though, you would do 1 to 2. So 1 alcohol, twice as much herbs. And I would use fresh herbs. Now, there are a lot of things that you can add when you're adding brandy, but for sure you have to have some kind of sugar with it. A lot of times people will put 1/4 to 1/2 cup of sugar, but today with my fruit brandy, I'm actually adding caramel, so that's going to take the place of the sugar. So after it sits, it marinates for 2 weeks to 3 months. I'll strain it. Then I'll rebottle it in some really pretty bottles that I can just keep in my cupboard, cool, dark place. I might use some for gifts. But we're just going to get started. I'm going to adjust the camera a little bit so you can see all the products and the stuff I'm using, and we'll get started. Okay, so first of all, you can see the brandy. I'm going to put everything in this 1/2 gallon mason jar. I'm just going to put that on top so that when I'm dumping everything in there, things aren't splattering around. Now, these are my raspberries. As you notice, there's some dark ones in here. These aren't raspberries. These are mulberries. But my mulberry tree is right next to my raspberry tree, and when I was picking them to freeze, I put them in the same bag. They're so good. So anyway, of course my hands are washed. And I am just going to put those raspberries in there. They're still frozen. I've had them sitting out for about an hour. Now, some people use dehydrated fruit, which is totally fine. It's easy to store, things like that. But why I use frozen fruit is because in the freezing process, it literally breaks down the cellular walls of the fruit and more flavor comes out. It's just like when I'm making jelly. I like to freeze that fruit if I have time before I make the jelly because the flavor is just exceptional that way. So I'm going to put those all in. Slide that over so you can see it a little bit more. And see how it's basically filling up half of the jar. Okay, let me wipe my hands off a second. We'll move this to the side. Then I have some caramels, and I'm just going to throw those in. There's 7 caramels there. Then it's a good idea to mash your fruit down a little bit. It's going to break it more. The juices are going to start to come out. And so I'm just going to take this, and I can actually take that off for now, and I'm just going to mash it down. Now, if you didn't have one of these, you can actually use the end of a wooden spoon too. But I have this, so I'm using it. Okay, so I'm pushing it down. And the caramel will take a long time to dissolve. So then I'm going to take the brandy. Now, and remember, before I mash it, it was easily half of the jar. And so I'm just going to fill it up the rest of the way with the brandy. Okay, this jar has, I think 750 milliliters. Okay, so I'm going to press it again. Now for a lid. You can have your basically lid and ring, or you can use a plastic lid too. They sell these at Walmart. They're a couple dollars for like 8 of them. But like anything that I do with alcohol, I'm going to put a piece of wax paper. I'm going to put the lid, and then I'm going to put the ring down, because I never want the alcohol to touch the metal. Okay? And then I'm just going to start shaking it up. Now, because this is frozen, it takes a little bit longer to get everything all shook up. But it's going to make a beautiful color, a rich flavor. And can you just taste this? I add this into some whipped cream with some chocolate pie. It's going to be fabulous. And always, I'm going to take my marker and I'm going to write. I'm going to write raspberry brandy. I'm going to put the date and the year so that I know exactly when I started to make this. And then as I go along, and I shake it every day, and after 2 weeks, I'm going to taste it to see how the flavors are infusing. But depending on how long it takes, I could have it in my cupboard for 3 months. Then I will strain it. I'll put it through a strainer with a cheesecloth, because I don't want any particles of the fruit in there. If you have particles of fruit, even though alcohol is a great preservative, it'll spoil after a while. So I'll do a video when this is all done, let you know how it is, and try it. If you have extra fruit, if you grow fruit in your yard, try it with some alcohol, and you'll be amazed at all the things you can do. Anything that in a recipe that asks for vanilla or a different spice, add a little bit of this instead. Use this as your extract, and you will just be amazed at the flavors that you can produce. So this is Sandi at Apple Cottage, and have a great day.